It began in silence, a regular afternoon in the Tohoku region. Then, the world tilted. A magnitude 9.1 fracture in the Earth's crust. But the quake was only the warning shot. The true executioner arrived minutes later. A black wall of water tearing through Kamaishi and Fukushima, swallowing entire cities and claiming nearly 20,000 lives in a single afternoon. Japan sits at the intersection of four massive tectonic plates. Beneath the waves, they grind and subduct, a ticking geological time bomb. March 11th proved that their traditional defenses were obsolete. The ocean had won. But in the ashes of destruction, a radical decision was made. If nature refuses to show mercy, Japan would stop asking for it. They would build a monster to fight a monster. Enter the Great Sea Wall, a multi-billion-dollar fortification designed to turn the coast into a fortress. But how do you engineer a shield capable of stopping the unstoppable? This is the story of concrete, steel, and defiance. From the foundations buried deep in the earth to the gates that seal in seconds, to the controversial price of safety itself. The mandate was absolute: protect the future. The government sanctioned a 400-kilometer barrier stretching across the scarred northeastern coast. The target height? Up to 15 meters. Nearly 50 feet of reinforced concrete standing between civilization and the abyss. In towns like Otsuchi, where the 2011 wave reached 40 feet and killed 10% of the population, the walls would rise to their maximum. In calmer bays, they could afford to be shorter. The design was not uniform, it was surgical. But you cannot simply pour concrete onto a disaster zone. The coastline was a graveyard of debris and unstable, loose sand. Building a heavy wall here would be like constructing a castle on quicksand. One strike, and it would sink. To solve this, engineers had to wage war on the ground itself. They excavated up to 70 feet down, removing the weak soil. In its place, they injected a matrix of crushed stone, steel pilings, and compacted sand. They didn't just build on the land, they rebuilt the land. On this synthetic bedrock, they placed the armor. Concrete molds, 30 to 50 feet long, interlock to form a spine of immovable mass. But a flat wall is brittle. To survive a tsunami traveling at jetliner speeds, you need to break its energy, not just block it. At the ocean-facing base, engineers installed dissipating blocks, geometric concrete obstacles designed to shatter the wave's hydrodynamic force before it strikes the main structure. It's the difference between stopping a bullet with a sheet of glass versus a sandbag. Yet, a wall that closes off the ocean kills the economy. Japan survives on its ports. How do you wall off the sea without starving the trade routes? The solution lies in hydraulics. At major hubs like Iwaki, the wall is not solid. It breathes. Massive steel gates, operated by high-pressure systems, remain open for cargo ships and fishing fleets. But the moment the seismographs detect a tremor, the gates seal. In under 10 minutes, harbors transform from open ports to fortified bunkers. In other sectors, the engineering is even more covert. Seafloor barriers lie flat at the bottom of the harbor, invisible to navigating ships. When the warning sounds, hydraulic systems inflate, raising the barrier from the depths to block the incoming surge. Open for commerce, sealed for survival. Not everyone welcomed the concrete savior. For fishermen, the wall meant losing direct access to waters their families had worked for generations. For residents, it meant losing the horizon, the daily view of the sea that defined coastal life. Some called the structures prison walls. In certain towns, locals voted against the barriers entirely, preferring the risk of the ocean to living behind a concrete fortress. Environmentalists raised different concerns. The walls disrupted ecosystems, blocked natural tidal flows, and altered sediment patterns. The sea, they argued, was not just a threat, it was a partner. But for government planners, the math was brutal. Inconvenience versus annihilation. Aesthetics versus survival. The walls went up. While the coast prepared for defense, another strategy was taking shape beneath the seabed: avoidance. Japan is an archipelago, fractured by the sea. To stitch the islands together, and bypass the rage of surface storms entirely, engineers constructed a network of underwater tunnels. Using the immersed tube method, giant concrete caissons, hollow tunnel segments several hundred meters long, are cast on dry land, floated out to sea, then sunk with surgical precision into dredged trenches on the ocean floor. Each segment must align perfectly. A gap of a few millimeters would invite catastrophic flooding. Once connected, the joints are sealed with industrial rubber and buried under tons of rock armor. Inside, hundreds of sensors monitor every variable: oxygen levels, structural stress, fire hazards, and seismic activity. These tunnels are not just roads, they are lifelines designed to survive what the surface cannot. Today, the coast of Japan is transformed. The scars of 2011 are covered by steel and stone. For survivors like the Sato family of Rikuzen Takata, who lost their home and two relatives in the 2011 wave, the wall represents something beyond engineering. "We can sleep now," the mother told a reporter in 2021. "For the first time in 10 years, I don't dream about the water." Critics argue that nature is undefeated, that eventually a wave will come that exceeds 50 feet, and they may be right. But the wall was never about immortality. It is about time. Government simulations suggest these barriers can reduce tsunami damage by up to 60%. More importantly, they buy precious minutes. Minutes for a family to reach high ground. Minutes that separate survival from statistics. Japan has spent billions to draw a line, not in the sand, but in concrete. They cannot stop the earth from shaking. They cannot stop the ocean from rising. But they have ensured that the next time the dark water comes, it will find a fortress waiting.